We all want to age really well. We want to be 70, 80, 90 years old and able to do all the things that we want to do, not be living in pain, and really have all the mental faculties, right? The ability to think sharply and quickly and have a great memory up until the day we die, which, ideally is in our 90s or up over 100. And there are certain cultures that tend to have a greater propensity for that, for being able to age successfully. And, they have many centenarians, right? People that are up over 100. And they are functioning at a really high level. But in America, this is rare. Most people, as they start to get into their 60s, 70s, and 80s, are suffering with chronic degenerative diseases. They're on many different medications. They're not functioning well. We have an epidemic of neurodegenerative conditions where people are losing their memories, their brain function. And, it's kind of just a slow, insidious death. And so here are 10 signs that you may be aging poorly. If you're struggling with chronic fatigue and lethargy on a regular basis, if you have chronic joint pain, if you have brain fog and forgetfulness, right? You forget where your keys are all the time, or you forget where, whatever your phone is on a regular basis, is happening all the time. That is a classic sign. You can't remember people's names, right? That you may have just met. If you have weight gain that you just is stubborn, and you're exercising, you're trying to eat right, and the weight will not come off. Bone and muscle loss, postural changes, right? So you start getting a humpback, and you have sarcopenia, where you start losing muscle mass. Muscle mass is so critical, and most people, as they're aging, are not doing things to help prevent muscle loss, like resistance training. And it's so critical that we keep that muscle loss. If you're experiencing sarcopenia, that is aging you. When you're losing that muscle, that's really, really aging your body tremendously, because muscle is actually a great source for getting sugar out of the bloodstream, right? We all have glycogen stores, which is a storage form of sugar that we store in our muscles. And so as we lose muscle, we lose the ability to buffer higher levels of blood sugar. We lose insulin sensitivity, and we end up dealing with higher levels of blood sugar and advanced glycation end products, which create oxidative stress that damages all of our cells. We lose a lot of mitochondria when we have muscle loss. So you want to do everything you can to prevent that. Veins. A lot of people will develop, like just varicose veins, right? So really easy to see, very visible veins. Tinnitus and hearing loss, right? It's another big one. Skin and complexion changes, and then poor sleep quality. These are all possible signs that you may be aging poorly. And we think about health span and lifespan. We know that optimal longevity is that we're able to live a really long life. And perhaps right at the end of our life, we develop some sort of age-related disease. Okay. But, that might happen when we're 94, right? In our 90s, as opposed to today, the average American has a 79-year lifespan. The average American lives till they're 79, but only a 63-year health span. That means that the average American spends the last 16 years of their life suffering with chronic disease, on multiple medications, and not really thriving. And obviously, we want to do everything we can to avoid that. And so there are certain places around the world we call the blue zones, where people tend to be 100 at rates 10 times greater than in the United States, right? So they have 10 times more centenarians, right, per, certain amount of population than we have in the United States. And so you have, for example, Sardinia in Italy. And in this area, the authors, there's actually a book called The Blue Zone. And there's been a lot of studies on these different people all around the world. You have people in Greece, Okinawa, Japan, Nicoya, Costa Rica, Loma Linda, California. And they found like certain insights from each of these places. And in Italy, and the Sardinians, they have wine, red wine, which is it's a dry farm, meaning that they don't do irrigation there. The roots of the trees, the grape trees, grow really, really deep. So they're going to have a lot of polyphenols, a lot more resveratrol, which we're going to talk more about in that wine. So they drink that, and they laugh a lot. So they spend a lot of time in community making jokes. They laugh a lot. And that helps the Sardinian men enjoy the longest male lifespan out there. In Okinawa, Japan, they're really dedicated to family and friends. And the women, the Okinawan women, have the longest female lifespan. In Greece, in Icaria, Greece, they nap. They have occasional fasting where they'll do, multiple day fasts, and they drink goat milk, and that adds years to their life. Goat milk, we know, has a lot of short chain fatty acids. The fasting, obviously, is amazing for autophagy and breaking down old damaged mitochondria and old damaged cells, that cellular debris that has built up in the system. And that's one of the best things we can do for aging. We'll talk more about that. And then in Nicoya, Costa Rica, they have water that's naturally rich in calcium and magnesium in the right balance that may help prevent heart disease and weak bones. See, we don't want to just supplement with calcium. I'll tell you, that is probably the worst thing when it comes to supplements that we can be doing to slow down aging, is just taking a calcium supplement. We need magnesium. Magnesium is so critical. Vitamin D, that helps make calcium work. Magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K2. And we'll talk more about that. But that's super critical. And that's also something we find in things like goat milk. We find some vitamin D, we find magnesium in there. We also find vitamin K2 in the fermented dairy as well. Loma Linda, California, they have a stress reducing healthy diet. And they also have a lot of culture, faith with the Seventh-day Adventists. And so it's a lot of that kind of positive mindset. And so the key blue zone principles for longevity: get a lot of daily movement. All these cultures move a lot. They have the right mindset. They know their purpose. They reduce, they have stress reduction activities that are built into their lifestyle. They laugh a lot. They prioritize family. They have a healthy social life. The communities are tight knit, right? They're not big, but they're tight knit. Everybody knows everybody. They're there to support each other and help each other. They don't eat processed foods. They eat real nutrient dense foods. They also practice time restricted feeding. They don't eat from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to bed. They restrict the amount that they're eating, and usually they're condensing the hours in which they are eating. And then they're prioritizing good sleep habits. They're not staying up super late. They're having good, high quality sleep cycles. Those are the most important things from a lifestyle perspective that we can be doing to help with healthy aging.